ध्ययेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्देक्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरम् योगासनाध्यासितम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामच्युतव पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. Now, this topic pertaining to spiritual stories as told by Ramana Maharshi. We have been reading from Bhagavan's spiritual stories from this book brought out from Sri Ramana Tiruvannamalai, which is also titled Spiritual Stories as Told by Ramana Maharshi. And we have been looking at each of the stories that Bhagavan has narrated. And it was noted, or it's observed, that Bhagavan used to narrate these stories often during question and answer sessions, or more so in the evening after everybody retires from all the works of the Ramanashramam, and then they would all the devotees would gather around Bhagavan before they go to the sleep. Bhagavan would narrate some spiritual stories and he would enact them, and it would be as real as the story was as though happening there. That's how the devotees have recorded it. And today we are going to look at one of the story, and that is pertaining to Dattatreya. And it is that Yadu Maharaj was once going in the forest, and he saw a man with a cord piece lying on the ground with his leg crossed, and he was extremely happy. He had nothing objectively with him. Had no great collection of objects, just a loin cloth and with his leg crossed, and he's in bliss supreme. And the king can't believe how this is possible. So because the king has too many objects, he has many people at his disposal. So he asked one of his servants to go and inquire about this man. What keeps him happy? And then, as usual, the servant will come, inquire, and this man will be still in bliss. Dattatreya ji will be in bliss. He doesn't even answer. So the soldier, not knowing what to what to make out, goes back to the king and reports the same. And then the king himself comes, and the behavior is the same. So having seen that his behavior, his happiness has not changed a bit, the king understands that he is some Mahatma. So he bows down and he says, Swami, you are evidently supremely happy. May we know what is the secret of such happiness and from which guru you learnt it. So he has very vividly recognized that Dattatreya ji is very happy, and he wants to know by knowing what or from what did he learn from any of the guru that made him reach that epitome state. So thereupon the ascetic told the king, I have 24 gurus, everything, this body, the earth, the birds, some instruments, some persons, all have taught me. All the things in the world may be classed as either good or bad. The good taught me what he must seek. Similarly, the bad taught me what we must avoid. So this is what Bhagavan says in this part of the story recorded in the book. But I believe it has been that he has talked about all the 24 gurus that Dattatreya had experience with in various conversations that he had, and they were recorded in letters from Sri Ramana and many other devotees. So in this beautiful English translation book called Guru Vachaka Kovai, which is basically a book collecting the teachings of Bhagavan in Tamil by Muruganar Swami, one of the great devotees of Bhagavan. That book, the Guru Vachaka Kovai, that is the teaching of Bhagavan, was translated into English. And in doing so, David Godman and few other people have collected lot of Robert Butler, David Godman, and T.V. Venkata Subramanian. They have actually translated the Muruganar Swami's original teachings of Bhagavan into English, and it has been beautifully brought out by Ramanashramam in the form of a book called Guru Vachaka Kovai, and it has 3 chapters. The first chapter is called Investigation into the Truth. The second chapter is called Meditation on the Truth. And the final top chapter is called the Experience of the Truth. In this book, David Godman and they have collected Bhagavan's references or to Dattatreya from various books about these 24 gurus and has compiled it into a wonderful paragraph for us to read and meditate on. This is in respect to verse 795 of the Muruganar Swami's Guru Vachaka Kovai that he has collected this. So when the Yadu Maharaj asks Dattatreya, how is it that you are always full of bliss? And Dattatreya replied, what is there other than bliss? This is the first and foremost thing. When we actually meditate in Ramana circles here in Ramana Maharshi Center, we find that always these great ones give the truth first and foremost. They don't beat around the bush and hold to give the truth at the end or something. So here in the first conversation, what is there other than bliss is Dattatreya's reply. When Yadu Maharaj is asking, how is that you are always full of bliss? And So is there anything apart from bliss? And this is the ultimate teaching of Vedanta, the ultimate teaching of all gurus, that there is only the self, or we may call that there is only God. We may call anything, we may call it Brahman, which, or we may call it as Sat Chit Ananda. We may term it in various forms. But apart from Satchidananda, there is nothing apart. So when Ananda alone is, instead of perceiving the way it is, what is that we are suffering from? We are not we hardly experience Ananda. We are experiencing objects. We are trying to experience the objects, hoping that that object will give us Ananda. But it is like Bhagavan would say, this is like the musk deer from whose body the great smell, the perfume would be oozing. But it will be thinking that the perfume is coming from somewhere outside, or it's somewhere in the air, and it keeps going hither and thither looking for the perfume. In a similar way, even though Ananda is our Swarupa, having not recognized that, or having longing for it, we are trying to look for it in objects. And how do we get in objects? Whenever whatever we are looking for appears in front of us, or we claim it to be ourselves, to us, then the search goes away. The search stops momentarily, and the mind becomes silent. The mind was now in a lot of anxiety and eagerness, was searching for happiness in an object. Let us say, I want to build a house. And as long as we are building, we don't experience the happiness. The moment the Gruha Pravesha happens, and when on the day when everybody come and look at the house that I have built, and I also feel that now I own it, and there is no more effort to be made to build a house, and that dream that house will bring me a lot of happiness. When that moment appears, that object becomes available, the mind becomes silent, because it has no other object to hold at that, because it has fulfilled what it was looking for. When the mind becomes silent, the happiness, which is our own nature, will shine forth automatically, says Bhagavan and all the sages. And that we pursue as happiness, the natural happiness of ours. When it comes out, the only mistake we do is that we think that the object, that is the house, got me happiness, instead of recognizing that it was my own, the silencing of the mind brought out the natural happiness within me. We wrongly attribute, because we are so object oriented, that we think that the object brought me the happiness. And this error, this foremost error we do, keeps us looking for, because the happiness goes away, the mind gets back to its mischiefs again. Again, we have experienced that happiness, but we see that it has diminished because the mind activity started again. So then we really look for again another object or an objective to achieve, so that the mind again becomes silent. Or we can see, whenever there is a drug that influences the mind to become silent, then also people will be very joyful, very happy. So it is, what is stopping us from experiencing happiness is nothing but our own mind. And what is a mind? If you have to look at it, the mind is nothing but a flow of thoughts. It is not a set of thought. not a particular thought. It is a flow of thought. And what are we doing? We are attending to those thoughts and taking them to be very, very real, very much necessary. For what purpose? To experience happiness. And what is the reality? It is that when the mind really becomes free of thoughts, the happiness which is our own natural state, the Satchit Ananda that we are, will automatically surface. But what are we programming ourselves to? That we need to look again and again for objects, or again and again we need to attend to these thoughts. Now this is where the core problem of all of us are. And this is where Bhagavan brings self-inquiry. He says that, okay, there is no way you can control the thoughts because you are habituated. You will be objectively looking for it. So here and now inquire, to whom is this thought? The answer will always be, it is for me, not for somebody else. Therefore, inquire, who am I? Now, with this question, who am I? One thing that happens is, instead of now paying attention to the thought which had arisen, the attention goes to the I, the one who is experiencing the thought, and trying to find out who that I is, not by again answering that I am this body or I am Dileep or anything. But what do I really refer to as I? By really inquiring deep within. And when we do so, knowingly or unknowingly, by the grace of the Guru, and when we turn inward, we turn our attention from all objects, including the I thought, and we go to our own nature, the Satchidananda. We may go to it for a fraction of a second initially. Again, a new thought may come, grab our attention and everything. But every time we inquire and keep going back, one beautiful thing happens, that the attention to the thoughts become less and less. The attention to who I am becomes more and more. And with that, the experience of peace, the ananda, which is very natural, becomes more and more clearer. And the disturbance caused by the thoughts and attention to the thoughts also becomes more and more clearer. When these two clarity rises, one automatically gains vairagya towards thoughts. That doesn't mean that the thoughts will go away. Thoughts may come, but one is least interested with them, because one has understood by attending to the thoughts, one loses natural happiness. The natural happiness, that is, one is naturally Satchidananda, that natural happiness is lost by attending to the thought. So one recognizes this cognitive recognition is very, very important, right? Like when we experience that, when we put a finger into an electricity thing, it will burn me, or I'll have electric shock. I will be very cognitive when I next time. Like that, this cognitive recognition that thoughts and attention to the thoughts is the only hindrance to my natural happiness. I don't have to suppress the thoughts. I don't have to say I don't have to look at the thought. I just have to turn the attention away from the thought, because that is not going to get me happiness. I have to turn the attention to whom then? Attention has to be turned to that entity which is watching the thought, or for whom the thought is an object. By inquiring, then when I say, to whom is this thought? It is for me, I. But I, again, is something that is a thought. I is also a thought. So whom do I refer to as I? When I inquire, really, what do I say as I? It's like, what do I say as mind if I inquire like that? I go back to my Swarupa. And then that natural Satchidananda Swarupa of me is found to be undisturbed by any thought. Many thoughts may come, good thoughts may come, bad thoughts may come, spiritual thoughts may come, ugly thoughts may come. But none of these thoughts have changed my Swarupa of Satchidananda. And to just make it clearly what this Satchidananda, the Sat is existence, the Chit is the awareness, and the Ananda is the peace. So it is very natural that I exist. I am. I need not, nobody else has to tell me that I exist. So I am is a direct experience of me. If I put in a dark room and somebody comes and I am not able to see anything, somebody comes, is there anybody? You will say, I am. That means I exist. I am here, present. So I exist and I am aware of my existence. So that is the Sat and the Chit. And what is the nature of it? Right now, we don't know much. As we take every thought as an opportunity to go back to that truth of myself, the more and more it becomes clear, like a sun which is shining and in whose light all activities happen. And yet, though the sun is the reason for all activities to happen, all the activities put together doesn't even disturb the sun, or the sun is untouched by all of this. Similarly, this Satchidananda, this Jyotisham Tat Jyotihi, which all says, because this is the consciousness which recognizes all other light. So in this light, all activities are happening, all creation, all activities of the body, the senses, everything is happening. And we also recognize that none of it has really touched this pure truth, the Satchidananda, the pure existence. The existence has neither become more nor diminished. The awareness has neither become more aware or less aware. It is pure awareness, and it has no discrimination as good, bad, on all of it. It is shining continuously. So when this recognition, and it is always peaceful because it is untouched by anything, there we can see the term Achyuta. This truth has not been touched by anything. And it is so natural truth of ours. And it is this natural bliss of ours. And to this, Sri Dattatreya is bringing the attention of Yadu Maharaj. He is telling how, when the question is asked, how did this bliss come to you? The king is telling, to acquire this Ananda, what is there other than this bliss? This is the answer given by Dattatreya. What is there other than that? That means Dattatreya is not getting carried away with the various names and forms that appear to be there. Now, these names and forms is another important thing that makes us feel makes us bewildered. See, all the names and forms basically are nothing but the self alone. The self itself as manifested in all these things. By taking a name, we can imagine the form. So like that, the consciousness itself has become everything. And we think that exists like in a dream. Bhagavan gives a beautiful example of the dream. In the dream, like this solid world that we are seeing, is obviously not there after waking up from the dream, but at the time of the dream, one cannot but say that they were all real. The world that I dreamt of, the people that I dreamt of, and the conversations I had, all the pleasures and pain that was going on when the dream was happening. And we sometimes scream and wake up from the dream. If they were not felt real, why would we do it? So at the time of the dream, it's all imaginary, it's all thoughts appearing, and the whole world and all the conversations I may have. In the dream, I may be having, my cousin had a wonderful dream in which he says that he dreamt of me taking me to a sannyasi, and then the sannyasi was speaking to him in Sanskrit, and he felt he was not understanding what the sannyasi was speaking to, but I was there next to him and I was answering the sannyasi in Sanskrit. Now, this whole conversation, he says, I could understand what me and the sannyasi were conversing on. He says he very well understood it, but he could not converse in sannyasi. But apparently, after he woke up, he had this wonderful question in him. If I was the only one who was there, then Dileep, the sannyasi, the Sanskrit language, my ignorance of it, all was me only. It wasn't, it is not possible that there was something else there. In a similar fashion, all the names and forms Bhagavan says that we are seeing is all nothing but our own self. It is, if you say there is a photo there, that is my own existence lent to that photo and saying that the photo exists. It is my own awareness which is recognizing the photo. The photo is not telling I exist. The photo is not conveying that it is emitting something to make me aware. I am aware of it. So it is only me who is aware of everything. This beauty, Bhagavan brings it to us, that it is through and through me, I alone, I am experiencing myself in all the forms. And here we see that Dattatreya, though he had 24 gurus, he is seeing himself in all of them, revealing his own truth in very beautiful ways. And we can start to look at it. And he goes on to say he has 24 gurus, and one of them is the earth, the other one is the air, the third one is the sky, the water, the fire, the sun, the moon, a wild pigeon, a python, a ocean, then a moth, a flying beetle, a bee, an elephant, a honey gatherer, a deer, a fish, then the pingala, a lady, a child, an archer, a snake, and like that he says 24 gurus. So, like in the dream, when everything is me, with each having a different qualities in my cousin's story, one who is having a knowledge of Sanskrit, one who is not having the knowledge of Sanskrit, one not only having the knowledge of Sanskrit, but having the discussion in spirituality, and the other person not even aware of the spirituality. Like that, we may see in the manifestation, like all these various names and forms, with each having a special quality. But together, all of them is the sum total of the self itself. It is all the qualities of the self itself that has manifested with certain degree of strength in something and some degree of absence in the same thing. But that is what Dattatreya beautifully recognizes. And therefore he says that all these 24 gurus were all that from which, when Yadu Maharaj asked, who is the guru? Who are the gurus from which you learned this natural bliss? Then Dattatreya says, these 24 gurus are the ones who have taught me to understand this natural bliss. So we look at some of them with Bhagwan, whatever Bhagwan permits to look at it. So he says, I learned patience from the earth. Now the earth, we can see in each of these, this is Bhagwan's account of saying, I have learned, or Bhagwan telling that Dattatreya learned peace from patience from earth. If we go and look for 24, what did Dattatreya learn from 24 gurus in all the different websites and books and everything, or commentaries that we may see, we can see many aspects because the self itself has manifested in all of this. So some part of it may be cognitive to me, but some part may not be cognitive to me, but doesn't mean that quality is not there. All the qualities of the self are there in every one of us because it is the self alone which has manifested. But some we perceive, some we may not. So here Bhagavan is saying that the patience is something that he learned, Dattatreya learned from the earth. And in one of the books, it was saying that all the animals do all kind of mischiefs from morning till evening. Even if you take a plant or a tree, big fruits may fall on the earth. If you take animals may run over it. Animals may pollute it with many things. But so many activities happen, and the earth takes that this is natural for all of them to do. So there is nothing wrong. And in a way, we can bring that same thought in our experiences also, in our own world. So then I become the earth, which is supporting all of these various people whom I have created in the waking state. And maybe my father, my mother, my wife, my kids, and all of them are behaving in their own natural way, very naturally. And in that act of theirs, there could be something like scratching, there could be something like hurting, there could be something like running, stamping, and there could also be something as beautiful, nice, everything. But if we can understand from the way the earth understands that everything it has to support, and they are all acting naturally, and therefore patience and patience alone is all I need to hold on to. And who else is the epitome of patience other than our own self? Even though we have not turned towards it, even though we have taken it for granted, that for years together we think thoughts are important. For years we have been told ideas are important. For years we have been told body is important. For years we have been told the objects of the world are important. And we have been running towards it. We have degrees to teach that. For 24 years, people come and teach us. People teach us in our house since we are born. And then we are put to school to do more specialization in that. And in all of that, when we are perceiving it, without the awareness, we couldn't have perceived. Without my own existence, I couldn't have perceived it. But I take my existence, I take my awareness for granted, and I use the same thing to look at all the objects out there, but I take this for granted, and yet, is there any day my existence became less because I am not attending to it? Or is there any day when my awareness said, no, I'm not cooperating with you? It kept giving its light equally on anything, everything. Its existence was available, undiminished. And that is the patience. And it is waiting for us to turn from this outward rush of looking for happiness. Unless we totally understand, experiment and experience that happiness is not there outside. And then until we turn towards it, it is there even when we turn back towards it. Such is the beauty of our truth. So, and that very quality is appearing in the earth. There is no, that quality of the self alone is, we can say, is appearing as the patience in the earth, waiting for us to turn and recognize it. So Dattatreya goes on to say, from the air he learned omnipresence. The presence of the air was something important for everything. Even in water, we see the air, the oxygen to be there. If you put a still water, we don't mix it with oxygen, and we put a fish, it is going to die. We need to circulate the water, mix it with the air, and then the water has to go back, and that carries the oxygen to the fish. So the air, from air, he learned omnipresence, he says. And this beauty about omnipresence, omniscient, and omnipotent is something I think I'm feeling like to discuss it a little bit here. So the beauty of omniscient is that I know everything. The beauty of omnipotent is that I am capable of doing anything. The beauty of omnipresent is I am always present, no matter what it is. Now, the omniscient is a quality we can only express when some manifestation is there. That I know about a car, I know about an aeroplane, I know about AI, I know about, only in the plane of manifestation, this omniscient comes into play. But there is a time where there is no manifestation, like in the deep sleep. I don't, there may be nothing to be perceived there, but I still exist there. Omnipotent also comes into play in the manifestation plane only. Something I can do which somebody else cannot do. That is again in the manifestation plane. But the beauty of omnipresence is whether there is manifestation or absolutely no manifestation. Like I'm dreaming or I am not dreaming, my presence will continue to be there. So this is the beauty of omnipresence. So Bhagavan actually teaches to pay attention to this omnipresence. And therefore he says, when Jesus says, I am that I am, or in the biblical statement, when it is said that I am that I am, he says that is the best expression of the truth. Because I am, I exist. And what is that I am? That I am only. I am that I am. I am not so and so or something like that. I am that I am. My own pure existence, which never goes through any diminishing or increasing anything, and continuously present. And in recognition of this natural truth of mine, I recognize that the fear of the death also goes away with it. Because it is, I am feared of the death of this body, or I am feared of the depth of the mind, which seems to cognize everything. In omniscient, we recognize that. And in the omnipresence, we see that none of this fear has any place. So, in the space of omnipresent, the real fearlessness comes. And therefore, Bhagavan asks us to inquire, who am I? And when inquiring that, we get back to our own pure existence and our own pure awareness. The awareness is not aware of anything anymore. It becomes aware of its own existence. And by simply attending to its own existence, it experiences the natural bliss, because there is nothing objective anymore. And in that bliss, it starts to relish the natural Sahaja Ananda that is there. So Dattatreya here goes on to reveal that the omnipresence is what he learned from the air. Then non-attachment is what he learned from the sky. The sky is a space where everything has its place. All activities is happening inside it, and yet it is unattached to it. It may be confined to a pot. It may appear to be confined into a pot, but moment we break the pot, it becomes one with itself. So what naturally called as the Ghatakasha and the Bahyakasha, that differences was only created in the Vedanta. We see this example. It's only created by ourselves giving the object a more importance, but not to the subject, the space. But when the object goes away, how do we take the object away? Either we can intellectually remove the object away or break it physically, because it is a physical entity. And we break it physically in the form of the pot, and we see that the Akasha has become one. So the Akasha was never divided and never became united. It is just that our sense of division vanished. And we also recognize by doing this breaking of the pot or not breaking of the pot, the sky was equally untouched by it. So here Dattatreya goes on to say from the sky that he understood non-attachment, and from the fire, taintlessness. The fire is something which is something that we cannot taint it with something else. It always glows in one form, continuously burning, burning, burning. So he understood the same is true with our consciousness, whether we are having good, or whether the consciousness is falling on a good set of thoughts, a bad set of thoughts, or on a very, very ugly set of thoughts. The consciousness is not tainted by what its attention is falling on. But holding on to that thought when we act, then it appears to be tainted. Or we say is a good man or a bad man or an ugly person. So we may say that. But the pure consciousness, like the fire, is not really tainted with all of it. So that same quality of the consciousness we see that is there in the fire. Then he says purity from water. The water is pure, it is cool, and it goes on to create life in everything that as it flows. It is the purity itself of the water that is very, very important. That we see when it rains, the pure water that it rains is the most joyful thing for everything, because it brings life with it. So it is when the consciousness flows. In its flow, there is absolutely purity. There is nothing else in it. That is what we recognize from it. And he goes on to say that and the truth that all changes are for the body and not for the self, from the moon. The moon, the light of the sun will fall on the moon, creating various phases of the moon. But that is all for the body. But the moon as such is always present. The moon as such is present when the full light is falling, like on a full moon day, or a full absence of the light, as in the Amavasya that we talk about. But the moon is definitely present in the sky. Similarly, the self is always present, whether one is attending to it with some degree, or whether one is not at all attending to it. giving zero attention to it. It is present in all of us equally. It is present in every being on this earth, whether it is animal, tree, or ourself. Without that self, there is nothing possible. We may see various differences in the body, but not in the self. So that is the teaching he says he understood from the moon. He continues to say that the sun shines equally in all things, but it is not affected by them. From this, I learned that though the yogi may see objects, he should not be affected by the gunas, which causes them to interact. So, this is, see, if you learn this as a something a yogi should process, that when he sees gunas or when he sees good, bad, ugly things from outside, he should be unaffected. Then I have taken myself to be this body, and then let us say I put a garb to look like a yogi. I put a saffron cloth, everything to make myself look like a yogi. Then I have to practice or mentally remember and intellectually, when un, many disturbing things happen from outside, I should act as though like a yogi who is untouched by it. And sometimes it may not happen. I may get disturbed. Somebody may beat me and I may get angry with it. So, but if I attend to my own nature, there we can see that the pure being consciousness, the Satchidananda Swarupa of us, is not taking the beating. It is not disturbed by anything. So Bhagavan here has said all that good qualities we may continue to pursue here. Look at it from the moon, the sun, the water, the elements. We may see all of it. But Bhagavan is again and again is making us recognize that this is natural in my own existence. It is natural in my Satchidananda Swarupa. So this is the beauty of our Vedanta. The Vedanta is not telling you to gain something anew, gain something afresh. It is saying these are all very good qualities of yours. In fact, in my own life, when I started on this spiritual journey, when I went to Ramakrishna Ashram in Baswangudi, and I had a very terrible day at office, so I was little disturbed by it. So I went to the Ramakrishna Ashram because my grandparents were great devotees of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So it was natural for me to know about him, and I went there. And at the end of that evening, when I was returning back home after sitting in the Ramakrishna Ashram for some time, I thought I should buy some book. And then I went into the bookstore and brought Viveka Chudamani from Shankaracharya. And then I started reading from it. And when I started reading from it, then I started to understand some of these Ashtanga yoga that I need to practice for self-realization. And I felt in this materialistic world that I am, to be truthful, to be always not getting angry, to be equipoised, all of these things that they are being asked is impossible for me to accomplish. In fact, I went to a stage where I said, I don't think I can pursue spirituality because none of these things I can practice consciously. It is impossible in this practical or in this materialistic world or in this objective world that I am running behind. It is not possible for me to practice it, remember it, and practice it on a day-to-day basis. So in fact, I gave up on that whole spiritual practice until Bhagavan came to me and Bhagavan's teaching came to me, and this question, who am I, introduced me to myself, that I am that pure Satchidananda. And in this Satchidananda nature of mine, I am really untouched by anything. So all the good qualities that all things are asking me to possess is already inbuilt in that Swarupa. In fact, it transcends all of that much more and is always content, self-content. Swatmananda Rasanubhuti Vivasham. So that made me feel little better. Oh, there is nothing that I need to now acquire, either in the form of knowledge or by practicing something. That doesn't mean that we should not practice all this Ashtanga Yoga. It is a great aid. But what is it finally aimed at? It is finally aimed at to recognize that these are all natural truth. This natural happiness, this natural thing which is our own nature, is what the Vedanta and all the gurus are calling us to recognize, which is effortlessly available. Effort, they all say, effort is only required to let go all these sense of divisions, the sense of objective understanding, the sense of ideas that we are holding on to. Effort is only required to remove them, but not to gain the truth. Because the truth, if it is not there today, and if it comes by some effort, how can we call it as truth? Vedanta goes to such a degree to tell that the truth is so naturally the only thing that is there. And the ideas of division, the ideas of subject object, the ideas of thoughts, all of this is the source of our misery. And therefore we need to, whenever they are taking the center stage in our mental or in my attention's drama, I need to bring the attention back to myself by inquiring, to whom is this, who am I? That is the trick. There the effort is required, there the knowledge is required. But once I get back to my own true nature, where is the division between subject and object? Where is the division to acquire any quality or lose any quality? I simply have to be in my natural state. And then, and Dattatreya, having established himself in that, therefore he can very boldly say to Yadu Maharaj, what is there other than bliss? Such is the beauty of the Vedantic teaching, this Advaitic teaching. Dvaita means two. In the Advaita, there is only the self, there is only the Brahman. So we go on to see the sun shining equally and unaffected. We looked at it, that the self is Achyuta, untouched, and that is a natural truth of ours. That is nothing something that we need to get it. From the wild pigeon, I learned that whoever gets attached to his residence will slip down from his elevated position. I understood that, like the pigeon, one must take whatever food comes by itself. From the ocean, I understood that I should be placid, majestic, unperturbed, and difficult to fathom. We may understand, okay, is this something only that Dattatreya will experienced? Is it possible for me? Actually, there was this Siddha Samadhi Yoga program in Jainagar. They had a 3-day, away from city kind of a workshop, and they would take us to some place outside of Bangalore. And for us, we went to Ghati in my thing 3 days, and there they do one beautiful exercise. They say after breakfast or lunch, they say you go sit silently with something in the nature, anything in the nature of your choice, and be silent and be just observing of it, and it will communicate something back to you. Please make a note of it and come back. And this is a wonderful experiment that was done. And I went and actually sat opposite to a tree that was having full of fruits. And I was simply sitting, observing the tree. And then a bunch of ladies with their children came in who had came to the Ghati temple. They came because it was very hot there. They stood below the tree, and the children were talking to their mom. I was simply observing, simply watching in silence. And they stood there for a time and then they went away. And then came a boy who was grazing the sheep and the cows. He came below the same tree. He got on to the tree. He went on to the branches of the tree. He plucked the ripe fruits. He started eating it. And I was sitting there. Until that, there is no conversation between me and the tree. This is just me observing what is happening to the tree and everything. And then suddenly the tree spoke. It said, see, one day, by the grace of the nature, the way I hold the fruits, you may hold the fruits of the knowledge. And there may be many people who may come, and some may simply come under the shade and go away. But it is only those who are really, really hungry who will come and they will pluck the fruit and eat it. In the same way, you should hold on to the fruit and simply be, and let the nature drive whoever is hungry to come and have it. So it was a wonderful message. It was saying to me that whatever I may have, I mean, when I mean knowledge, it is not necessarily spiritual knowledge. We can look at any knowledge that we may have. I need not go and offer it for somebody to take. This is a wonderful thing. If they are hungry, they will have it. And if I go on insisting on people to have it, it will look very ugly. So it was a very beautiful message from the tree. And that whole incident was really eye-opening. So I really understood that everything in the nature, because it is the self which has manifested in everything. And if I can be in my own pure silence, I can see that same self, whatever form it has manifested itself, can speak back to me and communicate the reason why it has manifested like that. It is fantastic experiment on that day that I went through. So when we look at Dattatreya, I just thought I wanted to share this in the good spirit, that this can happen to all of us. It is not necessarily for a chosen few or anything, because the self is our nature. The self is what we are, and that alone has manifested as everything. It is just that we have taken it for granted, and we have given lot of importance to ideas, knowledge, and everything. In fact, Bhagavan says, when we inquire to whom is this knowledge and ignorance, and find out, that is true knowledge. Because that is the only entity which is existing, whether it is putting its light on ignorance or whether it is putting its light on the knowledge. That pure existence, the pure Sat Chit that we are, is what alone is. And it is the most important thing. Bhagavan is driving it through these stories to us. He is again and again asking us to turn our attention to that very nature of us, so naturally given to us, which we have taken it for granted. He is asking us to turn our attention to that. Then Dattatreya goes on to say, the moth which falls into the flame of the lamp burns to death. From this I understood that a man who falls into the fire of lust for women perishes. I learned from the flying beetle that one should get food just sufficient to nourish one's body without forcing others to give. So here we again see that how our own belief in objects brings about our own perishing. We have got a beautiful birth. We have got a beautiful existence, a life and a body, sometimes a healthy body, sometimes enough wealth also so that we can feed ourselves twice a day. Perhaps we can live a very comfortable life. But we have got into this mad rush, like all the moths are running towards the flame. We are all again and again, without much of judicial questioning, running behind objects, 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 wealth, 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 which can get more and more objects. But we know that however amount of objects I may collect, happiness doesn't come from them. So, like that, the moth is running behind the fire, he says. Like that, we are really going on doing this, and without even really understanding what we really want. And it's only a gnani by his life and teaching, like Bhagavan or Dattatreya, who reveal that the happiness doesn't come from what we are blindly doing. And this reminds me of a very beautiful another side story, which Akka used to narrate in our satsangs um, in RMCL. And this is about a Swami called Uppukatar, who was very happy, like Dattatreya is joyful, is very joyfully there in a village in Kerala, and happily spending the whole day sitting below a tree in a siesta, not to worry about anything. Whatever food comes to him, he eats. He's happy. And all the villagers think that, we are all working very hard, and this man is setting a very bad example for all of us. So he says, okay. They all approach him and says, no, you're setting a very bad example for all of our youngsters. So from tomorrow, you should not sit and waste your time. You should do something. Yeah, so do some work. We don't care what you do, but please do some work. So next day, the morning, he says, okay, I will do something. And next day morning, they are all again busy to do their work, and they see this man pushing a big boulder up the rock, up the hill next to the village. And they all stop their work, watching what this man is trying to achieve. And he's pushing a big rock with lot of trouble, lot of stress. He's pushing, 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 pushing. He takes it it almost takes him evening to push that rock up the hill. And they are all observing him, having stopped their work. What is he trying to do? And he takes the rock up the hill, and they are observing what is the final goal that he is going to achieve. He has taken so much time from morning. It takes it top of the hill and drops it down. And they are all, they're like completely disturbed by this act. They really don't understand what this man did. They approached him and said, what did you do? You put so much of effort. I took the rock all the way from bottom to the top, and then you threw it down. And he says, I don't see any much difference between what you people are doing and from what I did. You people also work, finally leave everything here. I also did the same thing. I put an effort, and then everything went down. So there is no difference. They said, no. Your silence was much better than your act of doing. So we want you to do something very, very meaningful. We'll all collect some money. We'll give you some money. You go ahead and start a business. That way, you demonstrate that how it has to be done. And he said, okay, that's what you want me to do. Then all of them collected some money, gave him to start a business. Then he started a weird business. He took fruits and vegetables. He bought vegetables and fruits from the seashore, where it was very, very expensive, and he sold it in the village, where it is very, very cheap. And he took salt from the village, and sold it in the seashore to the people at the seashore, which is very damn cheap. So in that, he invested more money buying the product and he sold it at a lesser price. And in a way, he lost all the money of the investment in a few days. And then he told that he has no money to do any more business. And they understood what a bad businessman he was. And they finally decided to throw him out of the village. He said, just go out of the village, stay away from our attention, stay somewhere far. So he went and he stayed in a burial ground. And in that burial ground, he would spend the whole day waiting for some dead body to come. And obviously, when they bring the dead body, they break the pot, they put, there is some water, there is some rice. He would collect all that rice from all the bodies. He will use the same pot and some fire. In the fire that is burning, he'll keep the pot. He'll use the same water, put the rice, cook the rice, and eat it. And he will sleep. That's what he was doing. And one night, Kali decided to come to that burial ground, and she came to this Upukatar and said, tonight is Amavasya, and I have decided to do the Ghora Tandava here. So all my team would be here. They would be playing very loud music, something that you'll you'll have fear and you will not be able to take it. He said, no, I don't mind whatever business you want to do, you do it. You want to play loud music, play. You want to dance, you dance. I will have my food and I will sleep. And she said, see, I'm warning you. You should not tell me afterwards that it was very, very scary. He said, no, I'm not going to be disturbed. You carry on with your dance. And likewise, he had his food, he slept away, and Kali and all the team did Gora Tandava, a lot of music. And in the evening, till morning, and Kali finds him to be peacefully sleeping. And she is very amazed with this man. And so she goes and wakes him up and says, the first man that I am seeing who is undisturbed by all this music and all these things. I'm very amazed to see such a man with equipoise mind. So I have decided that in a good gesture of mine, I want to give you a vara, a blessing. So please ask for a blessing. And Upukatar says, what? I didn't see you were dancing. I was least interested in your music. And now you have decided all by yourself to come and give me a blessing. I don't need anything. I don't need any blessings. I'm happy with the way. Then the mother said, no. I have decided. And once I decide, I have to give. There is no other choice. Please ask for a blessing. And this man says, I don't want you and your blessings. Please take yourself and your blessings and go. I am happy with the way I am. And then she says, no, please let me bless you with something. Then he says, okay, fine. You have decided to bless me and I have to take it. So do one thing. This right leg of mine has been having elephantiasis for almost my birth. It's been suffering for such a long time. The left one is having fun without having any much of the problem. So please transfer the disease from my right leg to my left leg. And the Kali does that. So we can see that once we go back to the self, we can very much see that the happiness is not something that we will get from anything outside. Or therefore, this objective pursuit is something will stop automatically. It's not that we will not indulge ourselves objectively. The body and the mind may continue to act the way it wants to act for the cause for which it has been created. It may continue to do, but the awareness will be well fixed in the happiness within. So here we understand from Dattatreya that how the moth gave him that recognition. And we go on to see that the elephant also perishes itself by the attention to the indriya. It gets attracted to the female, and therefore it is subjected to the suffering of running behind it. So objectively, when we get attracted to something else, it's not necessarily male and female. For the female, the male; for the male, the female, or not necessarily male and female. Anything that we get objectively attached, we run behind it. And in that running to accomplish, to achieve it, we suffer. And we blame the cause of the suffering for to something else. But we forget that it was my own attachment to that object that is the source of the real suffering. So Dattatreya says that he understood that truth from the behavior of the elephant. Then he goes on to say, the honey collected by the bees over many days is stolen by the honey gatherer. From him I learned the word wealth earned by great hardship is stolen by other people. And there is no doubt about it. We all work as CEOs or whatever positions that we work, and we put our knowledge, our experience and effort day in and day out to collect wealth for our own well-being and our own children's well-being. Nothing wrong with it. But to believe that that alone will suffice, foregoing the idea that I need to spend some time to know who I am. And I should also meditate and remain in my own true nature for at least some time in a day without understanding it. Simply madly running behind objects is not something that we need to do. This is a wake-up call. Like the honey gatherer will eventually take away all the honey. We know that all the wealth, all the things that we have gathered will be taken away in our generation or next generation or the generation afterwards. None of these are there. In fact, I don't remember my forefathers, all the forefathers' names, despite I am from their lineage. So everything, all the name, fame, everything goes away. In fact, D.V. Gundappa, one of the famous poet, says very beautifully that first it is Annadatura, it is the hunger that captures our attention. Then after hunger is satisfied, then it becomes Chinnadatura, the hunger for wealth. Say if I have enough wealth that I have acquired, or I feel comfortably I am acquiring enough wealth, then comes Hennu Gandolavu, the attraction to the opposite that takes our lot of attention to acquire that and to sustain that and everything. And after all of them, let us say we are doing well in hunger, we are having enough food, we are having enough wealth on a daily accumulation, we are happy with our opposite parties, our opposite, if it's a male, a female, or male, the family and everything. Final catch where we get all struck, he says, Mannanaya dahavu ellakum tikshmatu. Recognition. Recognition is another big thing we get caught. And what do we pay, he says, with all these things? He says that we don't attend to the self. Tinnuvudu atmavane mankutimma. In this, we lose all time, or we give zero time towards self-attention and self-abidance. I would like to stop it here. Perhaps we can further go, but we are already reaching 8 o'clock. Essentially, to wrap it up, the whole essence of Dattatreya or Bhagavan telling this teaching is to recognize that the happiness is our nature and it is not something that we need to strive to attain. All we need to really strive is to let go all those thoughts, or let go all those objects in which we are believing that there is happiness, for which we strive to get. But rather, if we let go all of them, the sadhana is required only to let go, let go. Tyagena ekena amritattvamanashu. When we let go, let go, let go, and at the same time inquire, who am I, and become more and more, turn my attention instead of object to the subject, the I, and the source of I, then here and now, not only I will get the happiness, and I will, instead of working for happiness, my life will become working from happiness. That is what this story is beautifully revealing to us. There is a significant difference between working for happiness, because I may not know where the happiness lies, but working from happiness, having recognized that my own truth nature is happiness, and having established in that, I can then continue to indulge in whatever I need to do. That's what this beautiful story is revealing to it. I'll offer this thought to the holy feet of Ramana. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.